Corporate Social Responsibility CSR Part 10. Now we are discussing on board's report, website disclosures and audit in FAQ format. So why is CSR reporting is an important? Because CSR reporting, it is a statutory compliance requirement under Companies Act 2013. It is necessary. It ensures transparency, accountability and proper disclosure of CSR activities undertaken by the company. So it enables shareholders, regulators, investors and the public to understand how the company has discharged its CSR obligation. So which legal provisions governs CSR reporting? Corporate social responsibility reporting is governed by Section 134 of Companies Act and Section 135 of Companies Act 2013, Rule 8 of Companies Corporate Social Responsibility Policy Rules 2014, Annexure 1 and Annexure 2 to the CSR rules wherever applicable. Is the company, so it means every company required to include CSR details in the board's report? Answer is yes, every company covered under Section 135 is required to include an annual report on CSR as a part of its board's report in the format prescribed under Rule 8 of the CSR rules. What should be included in the annual CSR report? In the annual CSR report, brief outline of the CSR policy has to be mentioned. Composition of the CSR committee wherever applicable. Details of CSR projects approved by the board and the amount required to be spent and the amount actually spent and the amount unspent if any, and the details of ongoing projects, details of transfers to the unspent CSR accounts or Schedule 7 fund as applicable, and reasons for unspent amounts if any, and the impact assessment wherever applicable, and responsibility statement of the CSR committee. These are all required to mention in CSR annual return. What is the responsibility statement in the annual CSR report? The CSR committee or the board, where a CSR committee is not required, board will report, should provide a responsibility statement confirming that the implementation and monitoring of the CSR policy is in compliance with CSR objectives and policy of the company. Is website disclosures mandatory? Yes, if the company has website, it should disclose CSR policy, composition of the CSR committee wherever applicable, CSR projects approved by the board. This requirement is prescribed under Rule 9 of CSR rules. Is disclosure of the annual action plan on the website is mandatory? CSR rules specifically requires disclosures of the CSR policy and the composition of the CSR committee where applicable, as well as projects approved by the board. Although the uploading the annual action plan is not expressly mandatory, many companies voluntarily publish as it is a good governance practice. Is CFO certificate required for CSR? If we go to Rule 4, Sub-Rule 5 of the CSR rules, the Chief Financial Officer, CFO, or the person responsible for financial management shall certify that CSR funds have been utilized for the purposes and in the manner approved by the board. So this certification strengthens the financial accountability. Is CFO certificate required for every CSR project? The CFO or the person responsible for financial management should certify the utilization of CSR funds distributed by the company in accordance with the Rule 4, Sub-Rule 5. Companies generally obtain the certificate before the board review the CSR implementation. Is impact assessment report required to be disclosed? Yes. Where an impact assessment is mandatory under Rule 8, Sub-Rule 3, the company should disclose that the assessment has been carried out and include a summary of the findings in the annual CSR report. Is CSR reporting is applicable for private companies? Yes. Private companies covered under Section 135 are also required to comply with the CSR reporting requirements prescribed under the Companies Act and the CSR rules. Is CSR reporting applicable where no CSR amount is spent? Even where no CSR amount is spent, the board must disclose the amount required to be spent, the amount actually spent, the reason for not spending, the treatment of the unspent amount under Section 135 subsection 5 and 135 subsection 6 as applicable. What record should be maintained for CSR reporting? The company should maintain CSR policy, annual action plan, board resolutions, CSR committee minutes, Section 198 computation, CSR expenditure working papers, agreements with implementing agencies, CSR 1 registration details, even utilization certificates, bank statements, impact assessment reports, annual CSR reports. Is CSR reporting examined during statutory audit? The statutory auditor examines the financial reporting and the disclosures relating to CSR expenditure in accordance with the applicable provisions of the Companies Act and the auditing standards. Is CSR covered under Secretarial audit? Yes. Where Secretarial audit is applicable? Yes. The Secretarial auditor generally verifies the applicability of Section 135, constitution of the CSR committee wherever required, board approval, CSR policy, annual action plan, website disclosures, board's report disclosures, compliance with CSR rules. So what are the responsibilities of the company secretary? The company secretary plays a key role in CSR compliance by assisting in determining CSR applicability, convening board and CSR committee meetings, drafting CSR policy, preparing the annual action plan, ensuring statutory disclosures, maintaining CSR records, and coordination with the implementing agencies, supporting audit and regulatory compliance. What are the responsibilities of the board, particularly for CSR? The board shall approve CSR policy, approve annual action plan, ensure spending of the CSR amount, and monitor implementation. Also approve the annual CSR reports, ensure website disclosures. If the company has website, complies with the Section 135, 134. Can incorrect CSR reporting attract penalties? Yes. Failure to report incorrect disclosures or non-compliance with CSR provisions result in regulatory action under Companies Act 2013 wherever applicable. companies should ensure that all the disclosures are accurate, complete, and supported by records. So the common mistakes generally companies do are not updating CSR policy, failure to upload required disclosures on the website, incorrect computation of CSR obligation, and incomplete annual CSR report, no CFO utilization certification, poor documentation and failure to disclose ongoing projects and unspent amounts, non-maintenance of supporting records. So the best practices for CSR reporting is companies should maintain complete documentation and reconcile CSR expenditure with the accounting records and obtain utilization certifications. Also obtain CFO certification before board review. Conduct periodic compliance review as per the approved plans and ensure timely website disclosures. Preserve all records for audit purposes. Can digital records be maintained for CSR? Yes, company may maintain digital records provided they are complete, accurate, secure, and readily available for audit and regulatory inspection. Should CSR records be preserved? Answer is yes. Although CSR rules do not prescribe a separate record retention period, companies should preserve CSR records in accordance with the Companies Act and applicable rules and their document retention policy. What compliance checklist should every company follow for CSR? CSR applicability has been assessed first. Then the obligation has been correctly calculated. And then expenditure has been properly incurred. Transfer of unspent accounts, if any, have been complied with in the prescribed timelines. CSR policy shall be up to date. Annual action plan has been approved. Board approves are in place properly. Website disclosures are updated. CFO certification has been obtained. And annual CSR report has been prepared. All supporting documents are available. This is what the important aspect, important checklist. So we will meet in next part 10, part 11, where we'll discuss on complete case studies, frequently asked practical issues and MCA clarifications, secretarial audit and perspective, particularly in view of the audit and recent judicial decisions and CSR compliance checklist. So we'll meet in part 11. Bye. Thank you.